Just here. I told you.
Hi, welcome. Hope everyone's having a good evening tonight. Thanks for joining us on the stream. Thank you for the people who showed up here tonight. So we have a special guest, but before we get to that, we'll go over some things, some events that are happening. First off, tomorrow we do have OWASP, which is meeting at the University of Tampa. Joy Randalls will be the speaker for that. If you have any questions at all, reach out to Sunny. Or also reach out to, who was it, Sonny?
John Singer.
John Singer, thank you very much. They also have a website, I believe, that can be found via Google. I don't have it offhand, sorry about that. Maybe we can post it in the notes later. So anyways, from then on, after that, next week, we'll have Kraken Hour. So typical news bites and typical hot takes over what's happening since the last one within the cyber industry and IT in general. And then from then on, we have, B-Sides Tampa. So B-Sides Tampa, if you haven't had a chance to sign up yet, get signed up. It's going to be awesome. I'm doing our special guest tonight is also excited because he will be presenting there as well, keynoting in the morning. And the day before it, we have training. So I'll be giving a training there. Detection Engineering Workshop. It'll be a lot of fun. And so with that, I think without further ado, we can introduce our special guest tonight, which you're here for, and you're watching on the live stream. Yes, what's up?
What is a detection engineering workshop, and why should I come?
Detection Engineering Workshop. If you really want to be, how should I put it, a cyber unicorn, you might want to learn how to do detection engineering. Detection engineering is going above and beyond your capabilities that your tools have out of the box.
Who can teach me how to do that?
Someone asked who can teach me how to do that. I can teach you how to do that. We will go over. Someone asked, what if I don't know the tools? So some of the things about that I never actually like about labs is they don't typically have the tools that represent the enterprise environment that I operate in. But I think that's all right now. As I've grown through my cyber career, I realized, you know what? The data sources are still the same. PCAPs are PCAPs. NetFlow is NetFlow. It doesn't really matter what the tool is as long as I know what data I'm looking for. Process creation logs are still process creation logs. The parent-child relationship doesn't change. So as long as I understand these logs that I'm trying to find and these relationships and the data that I'm trying to seek, the tool doesn't really matter. And that's what we're going to get into is methodology and how can you actually go into almost any environment and be actionable with the detection engineering process that we walk through, and also being threat driven. Today, actually, I was going over, I'm doing 100 Days of Sigma on Twitter. So follow me, Secure Peacock, personal shout out there. But anyways, I was going over it and I started realizing, you know what? There's actually not a lot of atomic tests out there, atomic red team tests out there for them. So that's one of those things where we have to get better at, okay, how are we emulating threats for validation of detections? And then from there we can figure out, all right, are we responding to alerts or not? If we have them but we're not responding to them, how can we actually get a response to them? And then if we do have alerting gaps, how can we get that covered? So that's a little tidbit there. I don't want to steal too much thunder. So without further ado.
One more question?
Oh, one more question, of course. Thank you.
This is the least further ado I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, right?
One more question.
Yes.
Can you teach me how to Dougie at B-Sides?
Someone asked if I can teach them how to Dougie. I cannot teach you how to Dougie, but I can teach you how to shuffle off to Buffalo. Little known fact, I did take one shuffle off to Buffalo. It is a tap dance.
Much cooler than a Dougie.
Yes, it's way cooler than a Dougie, and it makes loud noises if you have tap dance shoes, which I do not have any that fit me anymore because I only did it for 1 year when I was in like middle school. I hear it helps with football though, like ballet and I don't know. Anyways, so if anyone else doesn't have any questions at all from the audience, we will continue and we will finally introduce the speaker, and that is my boss's boss,
How does that make you feel?
Mr. Bryson Bort.
And
This price is only till midnight.
We're rolling.
I didn't get to see the intro.
No.
You'll see it after.
Yeah, because there's a delay on the stream.
Okay, so everybody at home has now seen
Yes.
supposedly a really cool intro.
I'm
Except,
kind of shocked
I
we're not
haven't.
going to get like copyright strikes for that, but you'll figure it out.
All right, you felt it was good?
Oh, it's killer.
It was killer. It was killer. Okay, cool. So today's presentation is why is it running Windows XP? If you've seen any of the lead up on the social media comments, there were a number of people out there who were like, why is it running Windows XP? Because they have no experience in industrial control systems. Right? Yes?
Maybe.
Cool. I don't know if that was like a Windows XP like auto update you were giving me.
Now, I work in ICS for the DoD, and it's always running Windows XP because we're poor.
Yeah, so DoD and ICS, you are twice cursed.
Yeah.
Right?
Told you to.
Apparently I had an intro video, so I don't know what that said, but who I am, my nickname was Grim from my time in the government. I decided to create my own consultancy 10 years ago, called Grim, because calling it Bryson's consultancy sounded douchey. Grim sounded cool. Grim is still around, run by the CEO is named Jen Tisdale. They pretty much hack everything. I spun out a product in 2018 called Scythe, which is my full-time job now. It's where Chris and I work together. We're a next-gen attack platform. I'm the co-founder of a nonprofit called the ICS Village. We are mainstays at RSA and DEF CON. If you've seen us at DEF CON, you actually have a chance to get a black badge by winning the CTF there, so that's been pretty cool. And then I have been, for the last 4 years, on the board of advisors to the Army Cyber Institute. And then, as you can tell from all this stuff, I like to dress up. Did somebody clap?
Yes.
That was you? Okay, yeah, all right. You all can clap. You can practice. And Chris, I'm already going to note, you told me it was going to be cold down here. I'm now seeing that's more of like a Florida, it's 75 and chilly.
Well, I turned the AC off. I can turn it back on for you.
So I'm going to switch to my summer unicorn.
Love it.
Very floral, very much wow.
Yeah, it's warm down here.
We should do a Kraken face or something.
All right. Who's heard of Stuxnet?
Oh,
It has now been 0 days since Stuxnet has been mentioned. Who knows what actually happened at Stuxnet?
I watched 0 Days.
What?
I watched a movie called 0 Days.
You watched a movie called 0 Days. And what happened in the movie called 0 Days? That's, by the way, the pun, 0 days.
Yeah.
Stuff went really
That
fast.
was funny. Sorry. All right. If you're not into dad jokes, it's going to be a long evening, folks. So you were saying your movie 0 Days?
The alphabet agencies basically talked about that Stuxnet was sort of a back alley project, and there was a lot more to it than just that. The Olympic Games, which is takeover
it's
of,
always Mossad.
yeah.
Always Mossad.
Well,
Stuff went really, really fast and really, really slow.
If-
and fast again.
If you know anything about Israeli startups, more than 100% of them, so it's like 120% of them, all were X8200.
Yep.
Do the math. That doesn't add up. That's the joke. This is a rough crowd.
I see what you did there.
Drink more, please. I get funnier. So, Stuxnet, we don't know who did it, but what we do know is it is the first very public ICS attack, right? So what happened there, and this ties into everything that you can tie back into attacks on any part of the infrastructure, is they did things to a programmable logic controller, which is the basic where the rubber meets the road in an operational technology environment. Don't worry, we'll get to that in more detail. The key takeaway here is they did it in such a way that the safety instrumented systems that are monitoring what these things are doing, which was uranium enrichment, didn't know that something was off. That's our key takeaway here, right? We have a destructive impact, and everybody thinks everything is fine.
Why uranium no enriched?
Why uranium no enrich?
I know, I'll execute the scientist.
And we shot it. They shot a few scientists. I say we a lot. It's bad. I take credit for other things, but they shot. I'm not Iranian, so we're all clear.
Scythe isn't bound by ITAR. Screw it.
We are actually.
Oh shit.
Okay, so we have some people in here with an industrial control system background. How would you define an industrial control system?
Blinky lights,
Blinky lights, but IT has blinky lights.
but different kinds of no.
Different kinds of blinky lights. Oh, what? These are like a turquoise instead of a green? Get the fuck out.
It is a process.
What?
30 years behind.
Have you seen my joke before?
No.
God damn it.
It is an outdated process of processes.
It's any computer that's at least 20 years old.
A lot of assembly?
I gave you unicorn stickers earlier, so I can't reward you with more. I have different unicorn stickers, though, so I can get you those.
Never give him too
I'd
many
like to
unicorn
see him with a unicorn horn actually, if you could hook him up.
I'm a one-man unicorn. There's nobody else in that.
Oh, I can't display it for a minute?
So, what? Would you like to come up and take credit for something?
No.
Oh, you wanted to display your sticker?
I can't.
I'm cool with that. But you, as a grown-ass man, would like to display your unicorn sticker to show to the audience at home.
Stickers. You have to make name sounds and make it like clop around the screen.
You should know by now, everybody in this field likes swag.
If his nickname is not Rainbow Sparkles after this, you are all accountable.
Let me see if I can change that real quick.
We can change it.
We can totally change it.
All right. So I'm guessing most of you do not work in an operational technology environment, right?
Not at the moment.
You work in a boring-ass office, right?
If my office had 5,000 square feet and wasn't in my house, yes.
Okay.
I work in OT. It sucks.
You are still in an OT environment. Where does your electricity come from?
My
Where does your
AC
water come from? Where does your HVAC? How is it run?
All critical systems.
All critical systems. Everybody, you are in an element of operational technology. go back 3,000 years immediately.
You mean my super fancy electric vehicle can't run my water pump?
No, your super fancy electric vehicle cannot run your water pump.
There's
Indefinitely.
Some kind of city, like
Definitely.
East Israel or East Palestine or something. I don't know.
So part of why you should care. So what changed? We have a bunch of experts here in the room. Experts supposedly know a lot of things. We generally know adding computers to things increases risk. These systems were working pretty well in an analog state. Physics, voltage. So we're just looking at electricity. What changed in the last 50 years that brought us to this situation?
We don't like to pay people.
We don't like to pay people.
And
Automation.
we want remote access.
Okay, but why?
Well,
Because it's cheaper and faster
Oh,
than
I
having
see.
someone stare at the gauge.
The change from analog to digital.
Why did we have to go digital?
That's a great
Remote
question.
access is a secondary step that happened. There was a reason we, as an industry, just looking at electricity, switched to digital.
I'm still waiting for
I don't know,
this
Bryson,
rise
why?
idea.
So in the olden days, power went one way. So
Yeah,
we produced
yeah.
it, generation, transmitted it, distributed it, and then it was consumed.
But now we have solar
Done.
panels on our roof.
Now it goes two ways. And just like any relationship that goes two ways, it gets a lot more complicated.
You can't be producing more than the other partner.
That's not where I was going with it. That's the G-rated version. That's cute. You're welcome. So, industrial control system devices, right? Technically, industrial control systems doesn't capture the whole class. There are different ones. Don't worry about it, right? ICS, SCADA, OT. Unless you're going down to a really nitty-gritty and oh my God, do we all love to do that in this space, right? Like, well, no, it's really like this actually. Okay, don't worry, okay? All one class of things. What's most important are the design principles behind these things, okay? Most of us are grounded in the traditional IT principles, and we've got a slide coming up where we're going to talk through specific differences. But specifically, availability, right? You're used to 5 nines on telecoms. You wouldn't settle for 5 nines when it came to power, even though.
No.
Availability is key.
I mean, I live in Pasco. It's
I mean, if you're in Texas right now, you're going, I would love to have 5 nines.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Cold front? Your power doesn't work anymore?
So I have my own podcast with the nonprofit called Hack the Plant, and it's listed. I have a whole bunch of references. Also in a lot of my slides, not on this one, but for illustrative purposes, I have sources and references. So I will share the slides afterward, however that works. They will be a ton of like rabbit holes for a whole bunch of more things if you want to dig on anything in particular.
We're good at rabbits.
Point being is, on the podcast, I deliberately brought somebody who had just retired from ERCOT so we could have a really open conversation on power in Texas.
That NDA didn't matter anymore?
So after designing for high availability, because I need my things to be on, safety, we aren't talking about nerd stuff where it's like data and oh my God, my credit card got stolen again. If something goes wrong, someone can die.
We're talking
Someone can
turbine
get
doesn't go
hurt.
boom.
Things go boom.
You ever see what happens when somebody walks into a substation and raises their hands in the air?
So how much do I have to repeat for the audience at home?
You don't. We have mics out here too.
Okay, cool. These things are expensive. They're designed for long life cycle. He made the joke, unicorn sticker dude, about 30 years. My joke is it's 20 years, but these are things built for a long life cycle. This isn't, I buy a phone in 2 years, throw it out and get a new one. This is 30 years and the damn thing better last 30 years.
It's a one-of-one production piece.
It is a one-of-one production piece. And then finally, these have to operate in all sorts of environmental conditions. Your personal devices, your enterprise IT devices are chilled, they're under controlled environmental conditions. These things have to operate out in the world where it's going to get wet, it's going to get hot. There might be high vibrations, right? Talking ships particularly, right? High vibration breaks things over time. Or going back to my time in the Army, things get a lot of sand in them, and they have to be able to survive that.
That's for apples.
So who's heard of the Purdue model? The few people who actually know what ICS or acknowledge that they do. What is the Purdue model?
Well, I know it as essentially a scale down to scale up model of how control systems are integrated, from how they're monitored, from how they're implemented in like factory environments or OT environments. I could also be wrong though.
The bland
Well,
answer.
I mean, that was a lot of guessing when there's literally a slide of the Purdue model right there with names
Yeah,
and
that's
things.
low-hanging fruit. Okay, yeah. So I was kind of right as far as like how you have IT implementation to OT implementation and where things get weird.
Okay.
You want me to talk into?
I've got it.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, either he's gonna say I'm right or he's gonna say I'm a jackass, or both.
Is there a middle answer?
Yeah, I was gonna say both. But it's-
You're kind of in the DMZ with that one.
yeah. Oh, good reference.
Oh, wait, is it on the slide?
Yeah. I was in the Marines. I don't know how to read. So.
Get this man some crayons.
It is the legal way of explaining what a gobstopper is, except in power generation standards.
Okay. I mean, it's bigger than power generation, right? Because it is
Anything that
the
works as a process.
it is the general reference architecture of operational technology. Here's the first part that I'm going to disagree for the experts. The Purdue model, as you most likely are using it today, is wrong. I would even say it's lying to you.
Yeah.
So,
Go on.
yeah, go on. Oh, do I have your attention now, sir?
Hang on. I was gonna get the door.
We're not waiting for you to come back.
Go, quick.
We're going to get that on a later slide, so I'll let him come back to the answer, but it was fun teasing him on the way out. So walking through, because I'm not going to go through and explain all of the components of it. Basically, here's IT, which you're already familiar with. My IT should not be directly connected to my operational technology. I think everybody can inherently understand that.
Keyword.
We're going to cover the fact there is no such thing as an air gap. Don't worry, we'll get there. Don't jump ahead.
Yeah.
So I have some way of segregating that, but not like real segregation, right? And then I get down into the operational technology that's actually making things happen, changes to the physical world, right? Robotics, manufacturing, power generation, turbines. These are wastewater treatment. There will be references to that later, including you're going to all see me looking completely different than I do today on some of those things on CDS. That will be coming up. This is typically where you see things like, if you heard, we were talking about Stuxnet, PLC, Programmable Logic Controller, RTU, Remote Terminal Unit, different ways that I can interact with, control these things, and again, where I am making something change in the physical world. And then I have higher level ways of managing these. And probably the key takeaway here is this thing called an HMI, human, I always mix up machine or management.
Machine interface.
Human machine interface, it's like a permanent tick in my head to get the M wrong. Human machine interface. This is how technicians on the ground have a high level of being able to, at a glance, I have a graphical representation, and that graphical representation is like the physical architecture and my ability to monitor it, adapt it, and we're going to come up with some examples. So you now have a high level of what are the components of an industrial control system, how they fit in things, and the foreshadowing of how people who are even experts in industrial control systems are using this model slightly off what it was originally designed for. So operational versus technology, IT. First of all, not just data, right? We're not talking about nerd stuff. This isn't, oh no, my poetry got leaked, okay? Affecting the physical world, we talked about boom, we talk about the fact that we can actually hurt somebody if something goes wrong. And that's not just the fact that like if something goes boom, the people locally could get hurt. There are statistical models when we look at these things failing in different temperatures, different densities of population, there is loss of life. Well, Chernobyl is the equivalent of boom on a bigger scale. I actually lived in Berlin at the time when Chernobyl happened. The just patch it. So you hear this all the time in the IT world, right? You cannot just patch things in operational technology. They weren't designed for it even. So and I've actually been taking a lot of these principles from operational technology into ways to think about how we handle IT differently. That is not in the scope for this conversation, but the takeaways from operational technology is I have a vulnerability or a potential vulnerability, and I can't address it directly on the host, the computer itself. So I have to look at how do I mitigate around that risk?
Hard outer shell.
A hard outer shell, defense in depth, software-defined networking, where I can have the control plane around what can access it and what goes around that. What are my mitigating controls?
A lot of it's security by obscurity. Like these PLCs are so proprietary, you don't know what you're doing unless you have a manual to it.
So that was the old thinking for industrial control systems, is the fact that nobody would ever know what this is. It's a custom communication protocol. It runs custom software. There's no way anybody in the world could ever figure out how to do anything with this because you'll never know about it.
And then it shows up on Shodan.
Yeah.
But then it's on Shodan. And it turns out if you even look at it crosswise, it just collapses anyway. So not a good approach, let alone the fact that obscurity is never going to be something that lasts in the long term. The final piece, everybody knows the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability, which is the common design mechanisms for information technology. But as we've already discussed in operational technology, that's not how we approach it.
Yep.
Availability and safety are my key design principles for what I'm doing. Like we were using the example earlier with the keys inside the ship so that the duty officer has access for all of those things, right? That is a safety and availability approach versus the traditional, well, oh, people shouldn't be able to do that. There's a reason that we have a ship with certain folks. It's not easy to just get on the ship, so the same principle applies.
Unless you're the supply chief.
All right, who knows PPD 21?
Alan, I don't.
Okay. Back in 2013, when DHS had a small little directorate, NPPD, the National I forget what the P stand for, National Private, NPPD, the White House issued an order creating the 16 critical infrastructure sectors in the United States, and then assigning sector-specific agencies, SSAs, saying, hey, EPA, you're in charge of water. DHS, you're going to be in charge of this. TSA, you're in charge of oil and natural gas. You can already see where that one might be going, Colonial. That didn't go as well, and I've got more jokes on that. So this is literally the order within the United States that has created the entire government response to how we look at critical infrastructure. If you want to think of it as kind of interesting, we have 16 sectors. It's funny when you look at other countries and how they've designated this, because they've all come up with different ways. There's literally no universal way that any country government has figured out how to look at this. And if you want an even more interesting concept, and hopefully this talk will be at the Hack the Capitol conference May 10th and 11th. I'll explain more on that one later.
Is it that close already?
What's that?
I was saying, is it that close already?
It is that close already. It is May 10th and 11th. But there will probably be a talk there where we're going to have somebody coming from a very large city, and they're going to be talking about they have an even different perspective on critical infrastructure that's different than how like the federal government looks at PPD 21. So just showing that this is how things have been built for the last 10 years. They did change the name from SSA to SRMA. I don't know why. There's no difference. One of the other problems that we're having, because they are looking right now at a PPD 21 rewrite, because it turns out not all critical infrastructures are equally critical.
You mean they all don't fall under NERC-CIP?
They don't all fall under NERC-CIP. Turns out there are dependencies, and different ones have different levels of impact for different things.
Weird.
So we're now starting to mature to a point that we can't just say everything is critical, because if you actually start peeling this back, almost everything now almost falls under critical infrastructure. Commercial facilities. Telecommunications is critical infrastructure.
Hey, that pizza place down there is critical.
Stone Brewery is now.
Yeah. You said Sun Brewery?
Stone.
Oh, Stone.
The final piece I'll note also, because a lot of folks get confused about this, particularly in the last 2 years, is most of these places, the SRMAs, they have, it's more of an organizing principle. They don't necessarily have regulatory authority.
So it's like pirate code.
But think that through. Like when TSA had the issue with Colonial, there wasn't authority there on that. And so if you looked at the last 2 years, you probably have seen a lot of this in the press, and it's also coming on the IT security side with the SEC on those kinds of changes. These places didn't have regulatory authority. That's actually a new concept.
That's a huge issue we're running into. Oh, shit, my bad. That's a huge issue we're running into in like the red team community for ICS within the DoD is nobody knows who owns what assets, or so many people own an asset, like a specific dam in the Midwest could be owned by the Army's critical infrastructure team, then the Corps of Engineers, which is a completely different thing, and then the Southwest Power Administration. And if you want to show up and make a decision or try and secure something, you have to ask like 12 different people, hey, can I do this thing?
Or Texas.
Yeah, or Texas is such a low-hanging fruit. No pun intended.
For those of you who are looking for a deep dive on that concept, there is a project that came out of the Army Cyber Institute about 5 years ago called Jack Voltaic. Jack Voltaic was looking at critical infrastructure independencies on force projection. There is a lot that is publicly available. They went down to multiple ports. They went down to city, state government, multiple federal agencies, and were conducting these exercises and looking at the interdependencies of critical infrastructure and those impacts. There's a lot of public information for those of you who want a deep dive, which follows what you were just saying. It's Cochise, right?
Yep, Cochise.
Okay, so first up, water. The SRMA for water is the EPA. As you might guess, the EPA does not have a lot of cybersecurity talent.
Weird.
But I had this picture of jelly beans. Ever remember in school when you had to guess the number of jelly beans in the jar? Right? Remember that? That fun game? How many water utilities do you think there are in the United States?
34.
You think there are 34 water utilities in the United States?
No, that's just what I would have guessed for the jelly beans.
That's why you went to the Marine Corps too.
How many crayons are in a pack?
You didn't ask me to be right. You just asked me to take a guess.
You took a guess. That is the kindest thing I can say right now. Anybody else have a better guess?
Are you talking federally or per municipality?
All water utilities
Oh, shit.
in the United States.
12,000?
12,000.
Every county, state, local, province.
How many? What? 53,000. I'm sorry, I can't see. Oh, 53,400.
53,451.
All right, 53,451. Anybody want to go above that for the utility is right?
The answer had commas in it.
Is that the highest? Is that?
Yeah, Rob, you know everything.
What do I know?
How many water stations are there in the United States?
How many water stations?
Water utility stations.
Oh, there's only like 32 or something.
That was his joke, right?
I wasn't paying attention to him.
No,
Oh.
I was 34.
Also,
You're sitting right next to the guy who just made the shittiest guess of all time.
Also a Marine.
also a Marine.
You see what I'm dealing with here?
Hey, crayons.
Okay. The answer is 148,000.
Woo! And they're like the EPA is like 5 guys, 3 of whose name is Carl.
There are 148,000 water utilities in the United States. Yes! You're picking it up, right? I mean, it's not like the breadcrumbs are small here.
We have more water providers than ISPs.
Okay. So everybody, of course, here in Florida is familiar with the Oldsmar, Florida water hack from 2 years ago.
Oh, yes.
Weird.
I did not put the reference in here because I literally finished these slides 1 minute before Crispy showed up to pick me up to come over here. But if you Google Atlantic Council and Bryson Bort, going back 5 years, I demonstrated that exact same hack. We've been showing this for years. So as you can imagine, when it happened, they brought me out. But point being is, one of the things that upset me about that, the coverage on that, is there were folks who were pulled out and tried it out as like, I'm a water expert, I guess. And this was very dangerous and very scary. So for those of you who don't remember what happened, remember that HMI we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
So everybody knows TeamViewer.
Yeah.
Somebody came into TeamViewer,
Yep.
which was the remote access to the HMI.
Yeah.
And they just, because it's just like a GUI interface, and I just scrolled over here, and there was a slider, and that slider went to a programmable logic controller that controlled how much lye, ammonium hydroxide, which is used for water treatment to clean my water, and they just turned it up to 11.
You mean if I had more
Metaphorically 11, Spinal Tap reference.
Weren't they using like an unlicensed version of TeamViewer too?
It seems very DoD to say yes.
Yeah.
When I was an Army officer, we stole stuff all the time too. I mean, not.
You tactically acquired.
Strategically transfer equipment to another location.
It was on ATO, but you
I have
didn't
mission acquired this.
Yeah.
You didn't have FY funds.
There's only one thief in the DoD. Everybody else is trying to get their shit back.
So here's the part of the story I want to make sure that we all are clear on, because that sounds really bad. That literally is, I have poisoned the water, you drink it, you will die. Here's the thing. That water plant, and unfortunately I was up at the White House but 2 weeks ago having these conversations with them and nobody knew the answer. We don't actually know how all of those 148,000 water plants are created or run on this principle, so nobody actually knows the answer. I'm going to guess that how Oldsmar is set up is probably indicative, which is the fact that there is a manual safety backstop. You can poison the water, cool. Well, not cool, but it goes into a holding tank, a dude comes over and pool managers it, and then opens it. So let's walk that back, because we're going to be talking about threats later on. What do you think the motive was? We don't know who did it. To this day, we don't know who did it. There was additional intelligence that came out afterward that it was a directed watering hole attack, not a pun, for them to gain access to those TeamViewer credentials. Whomever did do this was not an amateur. They knew what they were doing. Now we have at least 10 public years going back to the Chinese first being publicly disclosed around 2010 through 2013, doing a whole bunch of stuff, and we know other people have been doing things, and yet nothing bad has ever happened. So, I mean, we would notice if civilian infrastructure had something bad happening. I mean, without even being a cyber attack, look at Flint, Michigan. So what do you think was the motive? You're going to do better in 32. I know you are.
It was for the lulls.
It was for the lulls. It was not for the lulls.
No, it was not. But Oldsmar is a very odd place to also poke. So.
I mean, it's got my initial take on it is low-hanging fruit, just because.
But why low-hanging fruit to actually potentially cause impact?
Yeah.
I don't want to cause impact. Think about it. You probably have all seen the debates on what is the red line in critical infrastructure, right? You're familiar with this concept? What is the line that I can do bad things until the U.S. military,
Gray zone warfare. Okay.
yeah, until the U.S. military says, hey, we're not going to cyber you back.
Yeah.
We're going to come and fuck you up.
Yeah.
The difference between
We're very good at that.
Script Kiddie and terrorist group? That's what you mean?
So that's exactly, yeah, it's at what line do we step beyond the shadow warfare and punch you in the face?
I mean, going off what you're saying, it could be to generate hysteria. Because, I mean, look at how, like, Fox 13 was down there in, like, 2 hours, reporting it on everybody, essentially generating the narrative, your water's not safe, you have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And people got scared because of that.
But nobody heard about the most recent one here locally.
Well, yeah, wait, are you talking about the one,
Like
yeah.
that direction?
Yeah. I mean, that didn't go public. Oh, it kind of went public. Because the city made us a press statement about it, but.
Wasn't it Super Bowl weekend?
It was Super Bowl weekend. Coincidence? I don't know the answer, right? This is the fun part of threat intelligence is going conjecture. My conjecture, they knew that there was a manual override or backstop. They were testing response. Now, the response failed because in this particular situation, the plant operator actually was sitting at the HMI, watched the cursor go independently of him doing anything and went,
Weird.
huh,
Is it supposed to do that?
yeah, no, kill session. That's just my personal hypothesis. This was somebody who wanted to test response. And I think that matches the motives that we've seen of what threats have been doing with critical infrastructure for the last 12 years is mostly reconnaissance, some level of refining tradecraft just short of the red line. Maybe I'm putting things so that in the future they're there, so I have those levers available, but I am absolutely aware of where that line is and I do not attempt to cross it. And so this was an example, not to create hysteria, but to measure response, and it failed for reasons that they couldn't predict, which was the operator.
Almost every single critical infrastructure plant that we've investigated has had implants found and things left behind for future endeavors when they decide they want to hit that tripwire.
Yep. So that has been my prevailing theory for the last 10 years. I feel until recently I was mostly in the minority on a lot of those things, but I think that the evidence has continued to support that we have a high confidence my hypothesis looks correct, but we don't know, and I don't know. I don't want to present this as this is fact. I just want to be clear. This is Bryson's personal, I sit here as a unicorn and look at shit, what I think.
So you subscribe to a Red Dawn theory.
The Red Dawn theory?
It's poking and prodding to shut us down. That way they can actually bring the fight here instead of somewhere else.
I don't know if I would call it the Red Dawn theory in as much as what that movie was really trying to go through, but I do think that when you look at, again, like Jack Voltaic and what that showed, and other things, what I'm predicting is going to be happening in the next 10 years in certain parts of the world, it's not that I need to do that to create the Cubans and Russians coming across the border, so much as I just need to have created enough wobble in systems that mean U.S. can't project power correctly. Yes, sir.
One thing that comes to mind based off of your descriptions is you mentioned testing response time. Would that be, I mean, I don't know the demographic of Oldsmar, specifically how many people and what ages are in there, as opposed to would they test at a area that, I gather that, it's Florida, it's God's waiting room. Back to points. Why not test in an area where there would be less feedback in case someone take notice? Like, say, a city of 100,000 versus a city of 20,000. Would there be a value in one demographic as opposed to, or for the purposes of testing technique?
Oldsmar, that water utility served 15,000 people. I believe there were 2, maybe 3 plant operators. I'm going to guess that it was probably just a coincidence of that's where we got access. There were multiple, attempts. That was the first, and it's just that's what it led to. I don't actually think. I think the Super Bowl was just a coincidence. To be honest, it seems like it looks like it adds up, but I think it was a coincidence.
And they're still trying to figure out what's going on with all that, anyways.
And again, this is where no one is other than 32 completely wrong. We're all this is pure threat intelligence. Like, it is a lot of conjecture. And this is not a threat intelligence talk, although we will cover some of those pieces later.
One thing that, now that you bring that up, I mean, as far as that going theory goes, you see with TTPs specifically that are Chinese or Russian, because we emulate those TTPs, that they're more than cool with chilling there for weeks, years, months, just to kind of build a good baseline. I've never seen the Chinese or the Russians, or, well, not that I'm a threat intel guy, I'm certainly not, but I've at least never heard of them saying, well, what does this button do, just to kind of figure it out. Have you?
Everybody has Lance Corporal's names.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, actually, I want to pick on that as part of it, and that's broader than an OT comment. The advanced persistent threat as a moniker is not equally applicable to all threats. Even within an, in quote, nation-state intelligence or military group, you have A, B, and C players who have specific functions and specific missions and scope that they are allowed to do. I would again go back to my hypothesis that whatever they are doing is being looked at the highest level with, hey, you can't, this is the line, we know where that line is, we will not accidentally cross it because, again, it's not going to be a cyber response.
It'll be kinetic.
What?
It'll be kinetic.
Yes, it'll be a kinetic response.
Well, and as far as the
Chris, now I get it. I get it now.
Right? No, I mean, as far as the response goes, a lot of these attacks were not necessarily able to attribute to a nation state or to a hacking group. So if this would have gone through and we've got 15,000 people puking and shitting their brains out, what kind of response do you think the U.S. government would have had in relation to a red line response?
I think they would have I think it would have gone, the one time I would say it would have actually gone Hollywood.
Okay.
So completing the joke on here about fear, uncertainty, and doubt, you will notice the percentage of attacks here all adding up to 100%? Or is it marine math?
Carry the 5.
So on joking to anyone can be an expert, I did a keynote 2 years ago on industrial control systems to a DoD group. And originally, I was not going to be doing it live because I was having surgery. My recording got fucked up. And so, high as fuck, I gave a keynote to the DoD on industrial control systems.
Labrum tear?
I tried doing that at B-Sides, but they said they were going to piss test me.
Okay, so here's where I promised how I used to look different during, this is my COVID beard. When COVID happened, I know. Do you want to know what's really going to blow your mind? We're going to do this real fast, too. That's me.
Gandalf,
Cyber Gandalf.
Where's Shamir?
He went to the head.
That's me.
the Wizard of Oz.
No, that's Cyber Gandalf. It's Gandalf. It's not Wizard of Oz.
No,
Gray.
The guy in the top hat.
Oh, no. Oh, so that's Lord Cyberbottom. That was a character I created based on a 19th century railroad tycoon. Go check it out.
That tracks.
You'll get to know me better. There are a lot of characters in here.
We're hoping
The
so.
voices each get a physical representation.
You'll fit in just fine.
Remember Nigel Shammy?
So remember how I told you that 2018 on where we've been demonstrating that water hack with the ICS Village. So I was brought on to the CBS News to talk to somebody. This interview is out there. There were some awkward moments there because I'm like trying to educate this person on the fly. I mean, this reporter, poor reporter is like all of a sudden like technical thing and we don't know this thing and I'm trying to follow my prompter and I'm gonna say, and like I had to balance between correcting and educating her live and trying to, Good Morning America it, while looking like that.
You ever read the hack?
I knew what I was doing, but I probably should have shaved.
You ever read the Hacker Crackdown?
The Hacker Crackdown?
Yeah, it's
No.
an old book from the 90s
No.
that describes hackers as like pasty, white, long beards, antisocial, that.
I mean, it's not half wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
I resemble that mark.
Yeah. Oh, you missed Cyber Gandalf, dude. I could definitely see you doing that.
Yeah, can we revert to the Cyber Gandalf?
I'm not going to go all the way back. We'll figure it out.
You got to meet Chris Krebs.
That's me doing a keynote with him at RSA together.
It's pretty sweet.
So I did not meet him on stage for the talk for the first time. I was actually brought on board. I was his strategic advisor on industrial controls, critical infrastructure, which, if you all remember how 2020 went, you might have remembered there was no focus on critical infrastructure. And so I pivoted to election security, but that's a different talk I can do at a different time. The point of this presentation, besides us looking cool with our TLP red pants, was we predicted the rise of ransomware. This was right before COVID. Everybody had remembered the Maersk ransomware attack back in 2017, which spilled over. But ransomware wasn't something that really was outside of the expert circle. And this is an important concept independent of this talk on industrial control systems that I continue to implore this community to consider. We have a lot of jargon and understanding that we struggle even with ourselves and with the people we work with. And you all know that you're already like doctors in the 1950s where you go to a house party and a little old lady's going to come up to you with her phone and be like, "Can you show me how it works? And you're like, "Grandma, stop looking at porn. Come on." Point being is I came up with this idea. I call it kitchen words. And this is when concepts in our space transcend and start to be things that average people get. People who don't do this for a living. People who don't wake up and be like, "I love cyber and I have to do it." Most people don't. It's not a part of our lives. It's not a part of your lives short of you do it professionally, actually, if you think about it. And so this was really a seminal moment because we came out and said, ransomware is coming, and we said that to this community, And everyone kind of like, oh yeah, all right, you know, interesting keynote. And you can watch the video, and you can watch a certain person in the industrial control system community doing one of those. I have a question, but it'll take 10 minutes to us. And you can see me and Chris on stage doing the. But point being, ransomware became a kitchen word from this.
And then the world shut down for 2 years.
And then the world shut down. And so, Colonial Pipeline. Nobody was more surprised that they were in charge of ONG than TSA when Colonial Pipeline happened. I'm teasing. I literally know the guy who's in charge of all of that personally, and they were already working on the situation. If you want to hear more on that, I then, the following year, or was that last year? No. Man, time blends together.
Close enough. It's within 3 years. You're good.
2022, last year, I hosted a session at RSA with the cybersecurity coordinator from TSA. If you ever want to see something fun, bring a lobbyist on the stage with you. The American Petroleum Association. And then Tim Starks, who was at the time, I think he was already a senior editor at Cyberscoop. The joke was we called it Between Two Tims. Point being is you can go and check out that video. It's about 40 minutes. And part of it is we go into a much deeper dive on what TSA was already doing before that. And more importantly, the mea culpa of where TSA acknowledges how they messed up during the response. The regulatory components, going back to my earlier comment on the difference between policy and regulatory that came out from that. So that was a good conversation. Links there. So what is the threat? Well, let's start with the question everybody's been asking over and over again, because we have cyber war supposedly having happened in Ukraine for the last year and a half, potentially all the way back to 2014, depending on how you define it. And yet, there's all of these questions that keep coming out publicly, including all the reporters in the last month who've been coming to people like me going, so 1 year into this thing that's happening somewhere in the world, what about that cyber war? What about that cyber war?
You haven't seen it? Have you not been paying attention?
You mean it's not the first time Ukraine's been hit by cybers?
Hence my comment back to 2014. But is it really cyber war?
Depends on whose doctrine you're asking.
What's the line between cyber espionage and cyber war?
That's a great question, Chris.
Espionage
Can you repeat
is
that into the
very-
microphone or somebody?
Well, so what's the difference between cyber espionage and cyber war? And I would venture to take a guess there before we let the speaker himself do it, that the difference is one is very much an active or passive reconnaissance thing. It's a singular part of the kill chain. There's no actions or effects on objective.
It has been 0 days since Lockheed Martin kill chain has been mentioned.
But it,
Yep.
war includes doing economics to your opponent.
If war.
I've got like 300 slides to go, and we've already been doing this for an hour. This is incredible.
Oh gosh. If war includes.
I don't. That's a
going
joke.
after, I think it's three things. I forget what the three are, but I do know that one of them is economics. And commonly within the attacks that a lot of people don't understand from being a blue teamer, there are thousands, if not millions, of attacks happening daily on businesses. So if war includes diminishing economics, when does espionage become war, so to speak?
What has been the Russian strategy looking at Ukraine's electric infrastructure since October 2022?
Make it not work.
And how have they been making it not work?
By cyber and kinetic actions on objectives.
They've just been doing splody.
Yeah.
Can we turn it off? No. Okay, boom.
Well, they started with numerous cyber attacks against the banking systems,
Yep.
against the electrical grids.
Custom and borders.
Yep. Those lasted for about a week until they could get kinetic engagement within range. And then they switched almost primarily to kinetic.
I'm actually going to disagree with your time frame because there was 3 months of attack campaign lead up trying to do those things. That not to be pejorative, but that's a very Western perspective. There was a lot of prep that was actually done.
When it hit public news.
Yeah.
To your point, kind of, the West and the East, like China and Russia, do not think the same way about cyber warfare as we do.
Why is it only limited to China and Russia?
Well, I'm trying to just narrow down threats. I'm sure the Romanians don't think the same way as we do either. Like I don't know what the fuck the Malaysians think, but.
Okay.
I don't know. I was on one of the teams that helped translate a lot of the. I speak Russian fluently because both my parents came from Russia.
Очень хорошо.
Очень хорошо. Приятно.
Приятно.
Меня важнее говорить after the talk. Yeah.
Да.
But as far as your takes on it go, because I was kind of in the pisser, but I'm reading. Where's the cyber war?
I'm glad you didn't take the microphone there.
I did that once actually, but
I have no doubt.
yeah, no. As far as the cyber war we were promised, do you think that maybe that was a little bit of hype up from a lot of the people in the West that were thinking that this cyber war was going to go the way the West would fight a cyber war?
Yeah. So that is absolutely the lead up I was giving. So if
sorry,
you look
I didn't mean
at
to piss on your boots, man. Okay.
They're still wet. Doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
So, no. Since I created slides, you might have guessed I had ways I wanted to lead things. That's all I was indicating. So here's where I see the disconnect. If you actually look at it from a traditional military doctrine, we have the 4 domains: that air, space, land, and sea, right? That is how the traditional military has been structured. That is our understanding of effects, and there is an entire life cycle of targeting, mission, effect, right? And to me, the gap has been that people keep thinking of cyber is going to exist in the same way as a 5th domain. The 5th domain today is not real. Summarizing my perspective, I think we built the coolest Death Star. There is no platoon leader who can do anything other than look up at the sky and be like, it's up there. I talked with I got to hang out with a 4-star general who was a combatant commander last year, and I'm just gonna be vague. And I asked, it was like we're just personally hanging out. And I was like, so, how do you feel about cyber? And he's like, how his life worked was he said, I had requirements. I wanted things to happen. Those requirements were sent over to the Pentagon. A bunch of 05s then weighed in on what I asked for, and then I never got it. That's a 4-star general. They're not supposed to be feckless individuals in the U.S. military. So supposedly. Yeah. I will give another talk on how I feel about flag officers completely.
There's always a bigger fish and everyone gets caught.
Point being is I think that the closest we have to cyber warfare is, again, we've built a Death Star. If we had anything to do with Stuxnet, that would be the example of a national strategy being entirely focused to creating a thing. There is no ability for anybody down on Tatooine to call anything local. The only thing I can do is blow up Tatooine. And that, I think, is the disconnect with where we are today. That's going to change in time. There will be a point where 5th domain and the literal cyber ray gun on the battlefield becomes a thing. But today, what's happening in Ukraine is mostly showing, yeah, I can do a bunch of preparatory things. And if you look at the combined, and this is, I think it's public, U.S. supporting Ukrainian response, it's mostly IPV, intelligence, right? I can give you information that you can make kinetically useful.
I think if it weren't for like the U.S. sent over a bunch of Tiger teams before they thought that everything was going to go right of bang, and at least my personal opinion is if we didn't send those Tiger teams, I think to secure a lot of the
things would have been worse.
Yeah, it could have been a million times worse.
Oh, I don't. So again, separating cyber warfare, I'm not disputing there wasn't a lot of work. There wasn't a lot of things done. There wasn't a lot of attempts for more destructive cyber capability. that wasn't thwarted in multiple ways, and specifically by this country's support.
Do you think that, as far as like the recent NDS that was put out, we in the West, especially America, look at cyber capabilities too defensively instead of offensively? Just, yeah. I mean, because you've got like the PLA over in China, like rounding up rice farmers and then sending them to hacking camps, and now they're hackers.
I think we have become, yes, I think we are too cautious. And there's reasons why. Some of those tie to our values as a country, right? This actually ties into a discussion on industrial control systems, right? We discussed the kinds of things that we've seen here on US soil. What should be our own red line and what we look at doing to other countries in that aspect? And I could, again, give an entire talk on that topic, too, but out of scope. So we talked about what's been happening in the US, and then, of course, we see a lot of these things happening internationally. One additional component that I will bring, and this particularly ties to the Chinese, that is a different way of looking at industrial control systems. Again, we get a lot of the time, we get focused on the technical piece of this, right? An industrial control system is a technical device. When we're missing the bigger picture of why do these things exist, right? Power generation, mining, energy. A lot of the espionage that has been happening around this has been the fact that there is only so many resources on this planet. And so being able to understand what commercial or government energy interests are, so around where I might deploy these, what they're doing, what's the efficiency, what kind of resources are there, is a significant part that I believe is underreported in this. Who's the threat?
Everybody.
Yeah, I would say.
Any and every.
Shit, we've got American citizens shooting power substations.
What is the most, so you can all think of the obvious ones. Russia, China,
Big three, right?
Iran.
Facebook, Apple.
There's some truth to that. I'm not going to dispute that. That's funny. What is a country that is not on that big list that has been very active in industrial control system activities in the world?
I was going to say Romania.
Chile.
Romania for ransomware, but not that's been more a correlation. These folks have been directly targeting industrial control systems.
Estonia?
Nope.
We're all just guessing.
No, Iran's one of the big ones.
Israel.
Israel's a big one, obviously. I mean, we know who the big players are, so somebody not a big player.
It's definitely not Canada. They have edibles.
They're
happy.
still worried about balloons, man.
Oh, yeah.
Vietnam.
Yeah,
I can see that. It's close enough.
that's a cool periodic too.
Links to everything, of course, because I don't steal stuff. Threat attribution. This is an eye chart. What this is telling us is Microsoft's view from 2021 to 2022 of the percentage of attacks by country, to blue being normal, to light blue being critical infrastructure focused. It's an eye chart. Don't worry about the details. So, again, being a former Army officer, the blank look is not fake. That's why I can get along with Marines just fine. I simplify the world. This is why I hate the Lockheed kill chain. I think the Lockheed kill chain is pretty useless. And don't worry, we will be getting to MITRE ATT&CK later.
Oh, you're speaking my love language now. I hate MITRE.
We'll get there. Have you seen the movie Interview with the Vampire?
No.
Yes.
Okay, so you have. Remember where they go and visit Paris, and it's the theater of the vampires, and they're up on stage, and they're actually like feasting on a civilian there, and then there's the lady in the audience who's like, "Take me," and he's like, "You wait your turn. You wait your turn." We'll be getting to MITRE ATT&CK.
It's the club scene from Blade.
So I simplify the attack logic, path, chain, I don't care what you call it, into 3 phases. Into metaphors that any person can understand, because again, we need to speak beyond experts when we explain these things. Reconnaissance. I'm a thief casing your neighborhood, looking at your house, deciding when you're there, when you're not there. Who looks like they have something I want to steal? We worry a lot about that. It's not worth it. If your shit's on the dark web, your shit's on the dark web. Who here has had your credit card stolen? Everybody raises your hand. Your stuff is all out there all the time. Most of you are probably already OPM,
Yep.
Marriott, Anthem. Again, I can give a whole other talk on all of that and why and what that's doing.
Anti-data.
Point is, very little business value and things you can do anything about. Second part, of course, initial access. How do I break into your house? We spend way too much time worrying about this. For all of you who will sit there and nod your head and agree with me, the perimeter is dead, your CISO, your team, and most likely most of your efforts are still yet focused on the perimeter. You don't actually agree, but it's true. Here's the thing to make it click. So going back to the thief, that's the thief picking the lock and the door swings open. That's the threat getting access and has shell. So what? The thief hasn't stolen anything. The threat hasn't actually done anything to you yet. The part you actually care about, which is why I created this very fancy Pixar level slide here of blue being increased organizational, business, and or mission value, is because post-access is, again, going back to the thief metaphor, where they're literally making their money. It's not that I got shell, it's what I do next. It's the actions I take on objective. It's the code I drop after I gain initial access. I have been doing offense for a long time. And I always kind of wondered, why did I always win? I've literally never lost once. Not once. Going against real things, even. And I started to come up with scenarios, like what are the most outlandish defensive scenarios I could come up with that I didn't even see in the real world, because I was just kind of like, could I even defeat those? And the answer was yes to those too. One, because the problem and the solution is not technical by itself. I have all sorts of other things I can do. Two, all of that combined is an infinite number of possibilities. You as a defender will never win looking at an infinite number of possibilities. It's why this entire industry is Groundhog Day. I try to understand yesterday to get to tomorrow. I draw my line in the sand, the ocean, the attacker comes, whoosh, oh, and I repeat. Because if I'm looking at everything and I'm looking at it at all those infinity, by definition, I can't draw a stark line. It's the reason nobody in here can objectively define cybersecurity. There's no objective measurement of that. You can give me a professional opinion. You can give me anecdotes. Where's the Darktrace guy? You can be like, Darktrace can stop O'Day tomorrow. But there's a limit to it because it's within infinity. Here's where I can give you the power back. You 100% control the post-access space. What assets are those? Yours. How do they function? You decide. How do they talk? Your choice. I cannot bring my own things, my own comms to the game.
Got to live off the land at some point.
All right. So now I'm going to tell you why the Purdue model is a lie. What was the original purpose of the Purdue model?
To shoehorn IT security into an OT environment?
Nope. That's how we use it today. The original purpose of Purdue, this is where we're pivoting from some of the beginner stuff into some of the advanced stuff, was actually to establish timing for industrial control systems to function. And then we started to have security, because the Purdue model predates security.
Availability overall.
You want to blow your mind even tying it back to IT? And I take the joke on industrial control systems being any computer that's 20 years old. The entire state of industrial control system maturity is just IT 20 years ago. How old are firewalls?
No, not even. Security became an afterthought after everyone thought their clocks were going to roll back and their eyes were going to explode after 2000.
2000, roughly, plus or minus, is when firewalls became a thing. Until 2000, my network being separate from your network was not a thing.
That wasn't the point of the internet. The point was interconnectedness.
Yep.
Me being different from you is 20 years old. What's the next milestone in this whole industry?
Cryptocurrency.
Everybody segregated.
Get the
again.
fuck out.
Everybody being their own silo again. We've decided we're
No,
too connected.
in like actual capability.
Okay. I've been talking a lot here tonight, y'all. Somebody else.
Nobody?
Noticed.
Zero trust? Give me a minute to load a stupid comment.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm having fun with this one.
What happened in 2012?
Was that next gen firewall?
Obama reelection.
That apocalypse we didn't get.
A really good movie called End of the World.
The Target breach?
Oh yeah.
What was the significance of the Target breach?
Your ACs aren't safe.
What?
They used industrial control systems.
Well, they used a
No,
third-party
stop,
contractor.
stop thinking like a nerd. What was outside of our community? Again, this is the challenge, right? Y'all have been nerding for a long time, and up until that point, you were screaming into the void.
They got everybody's credit card information?
No, it happened to
Yeah,
generic retail.
What changed in the entire world because that happened? Not what happened, what changed? What's the milestone? What?
It became a kitchen word.
It became a kitchen word because the people at the top were like, wait, I could go to jail for this? That's what you nerds were saying?
My wife was just a target
Blank
yesterday.
check, go fix that problem, and I never want to see you again. You think I'm kidding? Literally how it happened. And then within a year, every organization of a certain size was like investing in security. You go and look at the boom in the ecosystem of all of this innovation and all of these ideas, next generation firewalls, zero trust, I'll give you cryptocurrency, why not? Blockchain, EDR, all of that stuff came because the business finally said, oh, we need to invest more. It had nothing to do with any of us not being expertly wrong. It's because, again, they didn't buy into it. Literally didn't buy into it. You didn't get the money or the resources to do these things. The modern ecosystem, the entire discipline of cybersecurity as we understand it today, is 11 years old. OT is 20 years behind. In the 1990s, 90s into the aughts, ITIL was king because, oh my God, I should do configuration and change management. Turns out I should know what I have and have some control around the state of that. If you look at the innovation that's happening in industrial control systems, that's been what's been happening for the last 5 years. It's, again, just sort of 20 years behind. Oh, I should have some easy way to know what industrial control systems I even have. Not solving your problem of who's the system owner and actually going to do something about it, but at least I even just got it. This is how young we are. So the reason the Purdue model is lying to you is because it isn't even trying to shoehorn information security into it, but that is the impact. And the result where it's wrong is if you look at all of those levels, that really gives you like a warm and fuzzy of like, that looks intuitively like defense in depth, doesn't it?
You mean you separated your systems? Weird.
It looks like it's doing that.
But that's not the case.
But that's not the case. You're starting to see all the breadcrumbs. I mean, again, it's not complicated.
Eventually, you can lead a marine to water.
How long do I have to hold the head underwater, though?
I mean, I'm really good at not breathing. Let's just put it that way.
I don't doubt that getting oxygen is not a thing. There are 3 levels here.
I wasn't issued any oxygen.
IT, which you're all familiar with, the most common initial access vector. And then here's the part that's different. I call it the beachhead. These are the high-level industrial control systems that actually, again, remember that HMI I mentioned before? Some other new terms to throw in there, distributed control system, SIS, safety instrument system, right? These are these high-level things that are telling all the dumb stuff down here what to do and monitoring them. I don't need to do anything directly at this level. That's the third, right? What's actually happening down there. All I need to do is take control of the thing that tells everything what to do.
But I thought level 3 was supposed to be a one-way right.
Ha. I mean, I got a diode going this way and a diode going that way. That's one way, right?
I know.
At a
Just
time.
2DCs it. Problem solved.
So what is the best defense in the world?
Not technology. Yeah.
Yeah, what is a not technology solution to technology?
Inaccessibility.
Return to monkey.
Not having.
What is the fancy ICS term for stuff, accessibility? You said it earlier. Someone said it like 30 minutes ago. And I said we were going to get to it.
I'm sorry, one more time?
No, your answer is correct. I'm just trying to
No, it's not. I said it. Please continue.
You are correct. It is around accessibility.
We're not beating you hard enough.
A hacker can't hack what they can't touch. What is the industrial control system concept for that?
Segmentation.
Isolation.
Air gap.
Standalone.
Air gap.
A physical switch that turns the network on.
A physical gap. Accessibility is the starting point. Here's the lie in industrial control systems. An air gap is not an air gap is not an air gap. I have never met one. I've met 1,000 people have told me they have an air gap. I've met 1,000 people who have pointed to the air gap. And it never took more than 3 questions to prove it wasn't an air gap.
Until the contractor that controls the place behind the air gap has connectivity.
Because it's theoretical.
Yep.
How can an attacker get there? For those of you who are not familiar with Tim Malcolm-Vetter, he wrote a blog. All of these things are, of course,
Look at them,
MITRE
MITRE
attack
tags.
tags.
Yep.
There are only 5 ways to do initial access. 5 categories. Exploit, abuse, phish, physical access, supply chain attacks. But don't worry. You got a lot of solutions that are helping you out.
Yeah, about that.
All for you.
Yeah, about that, huh? And don't worry, you got one specific for industrial control systems. So here's a concept. Who's heard of Sunil Yu?
Say that again?
Sunil Yu. He's the former global evangelist at Bank of America. He is now the CISO at Jupiter One. Sunil is the smartest person I've ever met in cybersecurity. This has nothing to do with ICS except for this principle literally applies to everything, and I just think it's worth sharing. He wrote a book and he created a concept. He debuted it at RSA, I want to say in 2017, called the Cyber Defense Matrix. Because we're now going to pivot into the fact that I have these things, I have all these tools, but they're not necessarily working for me. We're going to get into that. You don't even have to do anything technical to do this exercise on your own. So what this matrix is I have the 5 categories which tie the NIST CSF, right? Identify what do I got, asset management, configuration management, protect it, what are my preventative controls, how's the system hardened, boom, breach happens. Now we're into the response piece, right? Structural awareness, operational awareness. What's my ability to detect? Dwell time is the highest correlation to impact on an organization. How long a threat can do something before you can stop them is the highest correlation to what could happen to you. Response, recover. The worst moment in anybody's life in information security is going to a backup that doesn't work.
Or that's with a vendor that you no longer have a contract with.
You might feel good about that, though. The second worst moment in information security, right? So my recovery not being there when I want it, because that is the final backstop. The second is when I go to my SIM and find that the information I want is not there in the middle of an incident, okay? And then we tie it to classes of assets. The point of this, why I'm sharing this with you, is because you don't have to do anything technical to just sit down and map your contractors, your products, your services, your people, your tools, whatever. Just see how it fills in those boxes. I don't have to do anything to do that 5-minute exercise and go, oh, wait, I'm not even looking at that. And then if you see everything, now you've got a starting point to looking at how your portfolio interfaces with anything else. It is a 5-minute exercise that will make your life just so much easier. Again, nothing to do with industrial control systems. I just love this concept so much, and it's such a great pivot point.
And half the clients that I work with on a daily basis can't even get through the first column.
Yeah. That's why they're paying you.
Yep. Fortune 50 clients still going, I have no idea where anything is.
When I came into the commercial world, I don't know, I guess I had higher hopes that somehow things would be different.
Yeah.
And I had higher hopes that the haves who are in the cyber rich category, with all of those resources, would somehow have some things that would be better.
Nope, the dollar bill matters more.
It's not that the dollar bill matters more, right? That goes back to the target comment of like, the money is there, the attention is there, not universally. There are constraints to that comment, asterisks. But I'm no longer surprised that things suck everywhere, which is the best thing that I can give all of you who work in this as a profession. You're not alone. As bad as you think it is where you are, that just means you're with everybody else. That'd be a great closing comment, but.
Are you actively breached? No, your day's not that bad.
That you know of.
Yeah, I was going to say that you
That you know of. That actually leads into a really good question from YouTube. So, question from an Eric Crone.
He is the closing keynote for B-Sides Tampa.
Yep. Of the 142K water facilities we have in this
148K.
nation, 148K, how many do you think currently have some form of threat actor already inside their systems? Just off the top of your head.
No idea. I have no idea.
Plus or minus half?
I have no idea. I can't even tell you how they're like what the baseline configuration is. Like the problem is so like regressive. I don't even know how to answer something like that. I have no idea. I couldn't even guess.
The answer is probably most.
I don't think so. I would not. I don't.
If
all right.
not actively,
If you're
there,
asking me
has
to,
the capability
okay,
to
so I'll
do that.
bracket a guess then based on that to steer where I think. I think it's in a fraction to a couple of percentage points at best, or at worst, actually, would be my guess.
A fraction?
Yeah, a fraction of a percent at most.
Why do you come to that?
That's what I
Kentucky
feel.
windage?
It's Kentucky windage minus I would rather err against the FUD. If I'm looking at other critical infrastructure sectors, that percentage would go up significantly. But water in specific, I would guess, is a fraction of a percent.
I can see that.
So going back to our configuration management discussion, right? I should identify my critical assets. This applies just as well in IT as it does in industrial control systems. Because things that are very important or very splody or very scary, very splody, that's unicorn trademark, versus things that don't matter. Because I can build up defenses around that. Defenses not just being, again, going back to preventing access, but can be detective controls and other mitigating solutions. So I've solved this, right? If I do this, I'm good? Why not?
Does it change a shift? There's always another hole. Trust is a big thing.
Relationships. Things that don't matter can matter. I need to understand access to impact, not just the direct impact. Okay, who knows the fish tank story? 2015, Las Vegas, go.
So someone was able to, from an initial scan, identify an open access point and get access to what at the time they didn't realize was a control system in a fish tank, and then were able to pivot from there into another environment in the facility.
What facility?
They went from
Nope.
all over.
Sands Casino, which is why I made the face when you said they didn't know. It was the Iranians, and they had an issue with the owner of Sands Casino. It was a targeted attack. This is the interesting part. They broke into the fish tank. Sands Casino had one of those like multi-million-dollar fish tanks. And I have never personally done anything with a multi-million-dollar fish tank, but I'm going to guess, Ocean's 11 style, that I need a whole bunch of things to make sure my multi-million-dollar fish stay alive.
Temperature and chlorine.
And it's not going to have that pool manager like I do at Oldsmar sitting there doing this the whole time. So I'm going to remotely control that. Well, nobody considered that the fish tank should probably not have access to anything important. Like a casino that has many, 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 many dollars. The Sands Casino took a hit in the tens of millions of dollars courtesy of the Iranians with this attack through a fish tank in 2015. This is literally my favorite story of all time. You cannot make it up. It is epic fishing. I don't have to be the only one to do dad jokes. Real world story from my friend Chris Kubecka. A 3G modem was discovered on a crane for a nuclear rod, crane that actually like handles the uranium directly.
Pulls them out of the
The manufacturer of the crane installed a 3G modem for their own maintenance purposes, did not tell the nuclear facility that that was there. Yeah, they had to discover it on their own and be like, hey, and you know what the manufacturer said? You're welcome. I was doing this for you.
We had to make sure that hydraulic would work all the time.
So people. This is actually from last week down in Miami at the S4 conference. Megan Sanford, who is the Chief Product Security Officer at Schneider Electric. We have an industrial control system community group we call the Beer ISAC. Beer is not required, alcohol is not required, but we are just an industrial control system community where we help each other out. And she won the Community Builder Award. My point of putting this picture on here is that the biggest gap when we start looking at how to move for testing and understanding this is all a people question. The folks that work in operational technology are not necessarily understanding nor interested nor looking forward to you IT nerds coming over and being like, so you got computers. We should talk about that. Yeah, who here has experienced that one, right?
They're just going, the pump goes worky, so I don't care.
Their goal was availability and safety. This cybersecurity is a new concept. It's not that they're not understanding it, although there is still a gap for a lot of them. It's not that they don't care. It's just not been the primary function. And so the biggest challenge we have here as we start to pivot this is actually one of culture. We speak a different language. We have different vocabulary. We have different expectations. If you look back at the slides that have been leading up to this point, you'll actually see a lot of it where I was trying to translate where you as an audience who have an IT background look at the world differently than how somebody in operations technology would. We have a people problem. And then that ties into process and policy and expectations. It starts with culture before you can do anything else. Because the hell you're going to come and do anything in my environment if I don't trust you or what you're going to do or how you're going to do it. Because the impact is not, oh, well, I need to rebuild that Windows machine.
The impact is the city doesn't have water for a week.
So my buddy, who is a senior manager over at Oklahoma Gas and Electric, Ian Anderson, this actually goes back to a concept he did. He was a crew chief in Army Aviation. When I was an Army officer, I actually used to travel around the field with chocolate milks that I grabbed in the morning and hand them out to soldiers. It's the same kind of thing. So whenever he crosses OT, he has turned this entire culture around donuts. And each of the donuts have a different meaning, and it was a way to start to establish that trust and that relationship. Taking this even out of the OT thing, I mean, looking at anything in the space, trying to establish that relationship in the middle of an incident is too late. We have to build those relationships, those communication, that trust beforehand. And so that is a key piece with some of his tenets. Hence, your journey started years ago because you can't just show up and do it. Okay. So security is defined by the threat. Going back to our comment on obscurity, whatever you have is literally the threat's test matrix. Your EDR, your gold image, your configurations, all of it. I have all of it. I have all of it. And before I deploy any code, I've already tested it. I already know what you're going to see. And I already know what I want you to see or when you'll see it. So from that starting point, we need to figure out how do we inject signaling into it. And here's where we got to attack. This is my first slide on my keynote at SANS Hackfest in 2021. I don't remember all of the things, but it's a lot of MITRE attackity tack tack attack attack. Don't hack back. So it sure does, because that has been the entire industry. So I do not hate MITRE attack. I actually think where I called out the target in incident in 2012, the creation of MITRE attack, which I guess was roughly 16, but probably became more publicly known in 2018, is one of the other seminal moments in this industry, because it was the first time we all now had a common vocabulary to say what happened. Because you could say credential theft, and I could say credential theft, and that could mean two different things. They took that problem away.
No, then I was going to make a shitty joke, that's all.
Go for it.
You mean somebody stole my resume?
Feel better?
Like I said, shitty joke.
That-
He told me to go ahead. Leave me alone, man.
I didn't get the joke.
Credentials, my resume.
I didn't get the joke.
Yeah, exactly. That was the point. I didn't say it was good.
We do this every week, y'all.
My ADHD won there. Sorry, God.
Link for the full details. So threat intelligence in action. I got to do the Slav squat in my Adidas gear.
Did Crispy let you in on this one?
Yeah, right. Fucking
No.
ankles down. Slava Riskaya Tigasuka.
This has showed up at least once or twice a year in our talks here because of someone standing behind me.
Which one?
The Slav squat.
Oh, you do the Slav squat?
He did a talk in the full
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, so I put on a full tracksuit and did a complete Slav-like.
Okay.
a complete
So if
Slav-like-
anybody is actually that knowledgeable on this, what's wrong?
His ankles up.
Explain to the audience.
Heels on the ground.
Yeah, so well, I mean, as a,
Heels on the ground, comrade found.
Well, he can't be Slavic or Asian. That's basically the thing.
my parents are anti-Soviet, so that term Tovarich is no good. But yeah, heels on ground. if you
Comrade
say that.
found.
Yeah.
So this is actually not, this is a Yankee doing a
Yeah.
Slav squat, you can tell.
American Yatsuka.
That, well, we don't have to cuss about it. So this is where most folks are familiar, okay? So let's simplify this, right? Scanning, assessment, and penetration testing. I am looking at individual system hardening.
You're just explaining.
I know. You're familiar with red teaming. This is where I go from looking at a system to now I'm looking at a system of systems. So two concepts I want you to take away. One, has everyone heard of purple teaming by this point? Okay,
Yeah,
I
he
hope
gets
so.
$5 every time he says it.
All right, well, we literally wrote the book on it, and it's available for free. I should probably put that link in here, but if you go and search for PTEF, Purple Team Exercise Framework, and this isn't even like a us pat on the back. We did a community effort with a lot of folks from a lot of other places to capture as many different things. Here's the part that I'm going to leave that's different than how you've heard it, because you all know that as red plus blue equals purple because you went to kindergarten. That is a limited perspective on what this can be. It is a collaborative, milestone-driven exercise. The two key points here is, one, we're going to do it together. So that IT-OT cultural piece, that blue-red, it's the collaborative piece, and it doesn't have to just be blue and red. The second, milestone-driven. I'm not going to do the traditional red team where I disappear for a while, come back, drop the report, and you're like, well, at least it wasn't a Nessus scan. That was a joke for those of you who've actually seen that happen before. Because that is a thing too for red teaming. But point is, the traditional red team was I go away, do things, maybe we have loosely agreed an objective, and then I show up, say, hey, I found a bunch of problems. Oh, do you have a 40-hour work week? Not my problem, and I disappear. Peace out. Have fun. Not very helpful. Purple teaming solves that because we agree, the collaborative piece, and then milestone driven as we go through it, see thing, do thing, and we check in together. It's traditionally TTP driven, techniques, tactics, and procedures from that threat basis, but it doesn't have to be. So think of a broader perspective of what purple teaming could be as a collaborative outcome where the best part about it is we're sharing as we do it, which means the exercise is educational and learning and training, and I have a specified output that was better than when we started. You just look very anticipatory.
No, I'm good.
Okay. The second is adversary emulation. Everyone know what adversary emulation is? Right? Well, not everybody actually does get that. I did a podcast last week where nobody in the audience knew what adversary emulation was.
Context clues.
So, I would hope, but we could also do an entire deep dive on the difference between emulation and simulation, why that matters, etc. So the point is, I need to drive realistic signal to be able to effectively understand, right? If security is defined by the threat, the more realistically I can create the threat, emulate it, the more value I'm going to get out of that.
You are the only one of the few commercial adversary emulation names in the game. How often do you encounter ridiculous ROEs with limiting scope, and how do you recommend getting around that? Because that's probably my biggest bugaboo right now is we want you to emulate this adversary, but don't touch this, 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 and this.
You and everybody else in a red realm.
Well, that's why I'm asking him, asshole.
Mick Douglas, who is a SANS instructor and runs his own consulting business, actually just gave a really interesting Twitter thread today. And I don't remember what his Twitter handle is because I think it's No Hack Me, where he actually gave an example where he screwed that up. So that was from your question. So Chris Peacock, you put a question out yesterday, stirring the pot on Twitter on can I do like really deep dive personal targeting as a part of a red team?
Yeah, he was asking if you could bribe infotech technicians as a part of a full red team simulation.
My comment to that was no, because the return on investment, there are so many more low-hanging fruit. I don't need to do Hollywood. Mick went further because he shared some details of a red team engagement where it went awry, where the CISO brought him in, wanted him to do that, wanted it to, to prove a certain point, be cool. And he shared from you're answering your question, how that went wrong and what he should have learned from it. So here's some things that I can share from having done this for 10 years. You can say no to clients. You can say no. You can argue, well, I'm a government employee, I'm a government contractor. I've been both of those things, and I told people no too. I have said at high levels, I've told agencies no to things, and they did this stutter step like, I'm sorry, you think, and I'm like, what? Fuck it, bring it, bro. Like, you can't make my teams do things that I'm saying no to.
When you said no, did you provide an alternate solution to why the no?
In the case of the violation of liberties of American citizens, no, I didn't give them an alternative. I told them to go fuck themselves.
You know, we need
True
to
story.
The temple needs to do a skit where, like, we roll up in a van and push some IT guy into the van and just start beating him, and then we're like, it's just a pen test, bro, it's just a pen test. Good skit.
We have to deal with this on a regular basis.
I very much have the feel of the room.
That would be a hilarious skit where it's like, okay.
So to answer your question, you can say no. And I get this other part, right? Like, well, like the scope is limited, except the scope is always going to be limited. It's limited for lots of reasons. It's limited for safety reasons. It's limited for production reasons. It's limited for timing. It's limited for cost. Like, no client can literally say, do all of the things, and nobody can afford it. You cannot do a 5-year emulated Chinese campaign for a red team exercise.
I mean, PCO. But.
You have to compromise on what those pieces are, and it is a mutual thing. What I will say is, You can say no. Then there's the point where are the middle ground of where's the flexibility for that education?
And that's kind of a middle ground that nobody ever really talks about. It's easier to bitch about it, but
And that's what I see a lot of.
yeah, where do you see that compromise between good security and a good solid adversary emulation session and okay, here's your clean bill of health, good job. Like,
So that is where I exercised my power as an independent. I will not give you a letter of attestation if I don't feel confident that it means something. You want a letter of attestation at that price, that scope? No.
must be nice.
That's called good business. For most people, education doesn't equal dollar bills
Nope.
next year.
It doesn't. We all have to make our choices. There is no answer, right? This is like so many things. It depends.
That's the value of your asset too, though, because if you just gave away, certificates that said yes, secure, there'd be no value in, what you do. If you're not a bottom of the barrel,
Yeah. No.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Dude, you're a spot. So when I started Grimm, I had some very grandiose ideas from coming from being somebody very important to literally overnight being somebody nobody gave a shit about. I'm a one-man team, like, hey, Grimm, and I'm like, I did proposal development and writing. I helped create a layer 2 encryption device to support an R&D lab. I did any job I could do to keep the lights on for an idea that I hoped someday would let me do cooler things.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's how a new business works. You work with the market, but you also work with your own moral and ethical framework.
And I never compromised that part.
Yep.
And that was my choice. And it was hard. And we almost broke multiple times. I mean, this is the thing nobody ever talks about on the entrepreneur side. Like, literally almost died multiple times. Everyone's like, I did the most amazing things and everything is great. Here's the Lambo I'm renting. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. You want to know the truth? Every founder, every entrepreneur, everybody that's doing this small stuff, we are just jackals on the Serengeti. We are eating anything that looks like it's mildly edible to the point that our morals are not compromised. Mine were exceptionally high. So remember the Walking Dead where Rick hits the dog food out of the hands and was like, we're not eating that. And everyone was like, that was my level. That was my level of how I ran things. And not everyone agreed to it. And it was not easy. And you know what? It could have easily gone wrong. And there were certainly a lot of moments where it seemed that way. But now I feel like my brand name, the brand name of Grimm, has the meaning of if we have those people, what they will do at that price, that's what we're paying for. And we know what that means. And you know what? Not everybody does or cares. A lot of customers don't care. I can't tell you how many folks came to me and would be like, so can I get that $5,000 pen test? And I'd be like, you can't even get a meeting with us at that price. It's not worth it. Go fuck yourself. I mean, I didn't say that. I was polite. But the answer is no. You are fired as a potential customer right off the bat. That's hard to do. It is really hard to do. It is easy for me to get up here and be glib about it. And I don't want to sound like I got here because I was just the coolest dude and I don't give a fuck. I absolutely did. And I cared. And I really struggled with a lot of those things. But I stuck to it. And it paid off in the end.
No, that's very actually heartening to hear because that's something as a group at times, especially between the leadership, that we've struggled with well, what if we just let these things happen or these people in? And we're like, no, we've got to stand our ground. Right now it might hurt, but in the long run it's going to pay off. So it's cool to hear that that's coming out of your group.
Yeah, and so the jackal on the Serengeti metaphor, to bring it through, you're eating everything, you're surviving, your ribs are sticking through, and you are thirsty, and you just hope that rainy season is around the corner. That's it. That is all success as an entrepreneur is. I survive into a rainy season until I can't keep that breath anymore, and then it's over. But that's not even failure. Failing as an entrepreneur is not failure. You're still going to be employed. You're still going to get to do something. You're going to get plugged back into the matrix. You are. They need us. But that's where everybody's measuring against. All right, the 3 variables I can control around testing, independent of my clients being whatever they're going to be. I can control scope. I can control the complexity of the exercise. I can control the frequency we do exercises. You don't have to be technically complex.
Sometimes it's better not to.
Figure out every way you can cheat that gets you where you are. Again, nobody, including DoD, is going to give you the money to recreate a 5-year APT campaign like the PLA. Has everyone heard of assume breach?
Yep.
Assume breach is the equivalent of 2 to 4 years of recon and close access work. Literally. I have just recreated all of that nation state capability by saying, I've started here. You can do that. You can go through your exercise and be like, oh, I proved application deny listing works. Let's allow list this exercise and go to the next step. I've now just recreated all of the RDT&E of the PLA coming up with an exclusive exploit to breaking that control. It counts. You don't have to be technically sophisticated to do this. Maybe my scope can't be all of the things. I should start here and then build trust and growth from there. You control these variables to an exercise. So I get asked a lot of the times, what do I think of XYZ vendor? And the only one I ever have a strong opinion about is Darktrace. Teasing.
John Strand happy hour.
So
Go and look up the John Strand, Bryson Bort, Wild West Hackenfest rant. And we're going to be doing one at Unicon April 14th. John and I are going to reprise that. It is, not to compliment ourselves, it is the funniest 50-minute takedown on everything in industry. You all know John Strand, so you know he's really funny.
Yeah.
You've seen I'm mildly funny. It's fantastic.
So 2 questions. First one, plug time here. Unicon, you said April 14th. When or where is it happening? What time?
It's all day. It is a virtual conference.
There you guys have it, folks. Second question, going back 1 slide. 3rd bullet point, frequency. In being in the red realm, the term that's starting to pop up, and I'm curious to see what your take is here on this, especially in the realms you're working in. Threat as a service. I see that look.
What the fuck is that?
Exactly. So this is people going, you know what?
I feel threatened by that.
It's very weird. So the concept is, where we're going with this is no longer like, we don't want the moment in time pen test anymore. We don't want just this little quick snapshot look. We want to sign a contract with you, and at any given time in the next year, 2 years, 5 years, come poke at us. Tell us what you find. Let us know how it goes. That kind of a thing.
So it's just an open start date?
It's a variable date pen test, basically.
It's a red team.
Yeah.
It's just an unannounced red team or pen test.
Charge them through the nose for it.
I heard as a service because they're clearly trying to, anything that says as a service is trying to speak to VC economics, venture capital economics. There are 2 kinds of money in the world. That's it. Everything ever exists on only 2 models. By person, by product. 1 hour of time is 1 hour pay. Whatever you think my code is worth or my thing is worth is it. That's it. The whole world works that way. And whenever you hear as a service, that's somebody trying to go to the second. Okay. So I get asked this question all the time. What do I think? What about this? What about this? What about this? They're all the same. There's only 2 principles you need to picking a vendor. Trust. Those of us who are prior service, we know this. Because our whole life depends on, I'm going to be somewhere, and I trust you're not going to lie to me, and you're actually what passes for competent, that I won't die from it.
Meanwhile, in the Marine Corps.
Part of that's trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Look at InfoSec. InfoSec, you know why you're, again, this is why I addressed it, that you're all in the boat together. You live with an existential anxiety every day. You don't even know if you're fucked. So you worry about it. You have no way to measure it because it's infinite, so it's probably true. And that just sits there as this existential dread on us. And then every incident that you go through is a traumatic event. I don't mean that sarcastically. It literally is PTSD inducing.
Again and again and again and again.
So look at yourselves and what we go through together with that lens. So who you decide to get in that foxhole with, that vendor, that product, that service, that contractor, starts from trust. Because you're not, for the best intentions, and again, salespeople are not inherently bad people. They're really not. I know they're given a bad connotation, and there are shitty salespeople, but salespeople overall are actually motivated by how do I sell you something that's going to make your life better. But there's going to be a gap on what you think it is and what they say it is, and it's not intentional. The question is the trust there that after you figure out that gap, will they be there for you? That you can control. That's trust. The second, which is your fault, is you need to invest in making that tool yours. I can install almost any defensive tool and literally stop every attack of all time.
And we see
The computer won't be usable. It'll be, might as well go back to being the stone that the silicon was bereft from. You have to invest in making the tool yours. Your security is your security. And the only way to find that is to make it that. That's where we need that functional signal of driving threat, of learning from it. You control that. The investment that you make in making a tool yours and keeping it that way is your choice, which is why testing is important. So how can we be professionally evil? Yes, I'm actually dressed up as a devil for another military talk I gave in person. This was great. This seriously was so much fun.
You're dressed up as Joint Chiefs Staff.
I don't know. I feel like I look more like a 3-star.
Add black hat, yeah.
90% of commercial offense is PowerShell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever says that out loud, it literally is it. Here's the question, why?
Because it's everywhere.
And what can it do?
Everything.
And who installed it in the environment?
The environment itself.
I rest my case. Atomic Red Team, everyone's heard of that? Okay, Red Canary created an open source tool set called Atomic Red Team. It is literally what it sounds like. Atomic, an individual test, a thing, approximating a red team. It is a procedure that I can run. Could be a couple of procedures to equal a tactic. It is free. It is the greatest starting point. You do not need to go and figure this stuff out. You don't have to be a red teamer to install this locally and just start doing the commands, and it will do the thing. Don't mistake where we go back to the failure of how people use MITRE ATT&CK, which is really where people get bitter about MITRE ATT&CK. I don't know where Coach East went. Oh, there he is.
What's going on?
Atomic Red Team does not lead you that astray. Other products do. Atomic Red Team, though, is a free, out-of-the-box solution that is updated with real procedures that you can use safely in your environment to get started. Then you can start to get to professional tool sets. Another free thing that is out there, the C2 Matrix. Me, George Orchias, and Adam Ashinshi back in 2019, it came out of a DerbyCon discussion for a lot of reasons. We created a matrix that catalogs every professional, commercial, off-the-shelf, free, you name it, literally. If it is an offensive tool you can use, we cataloged it and created a compendium for it. Not only that, we created, in collaboration with SANS, a free Linux distro with a lot of these tools already installed, because the biggest problem with free things is you get what you pay for, which is it never installs and doesn't work. So we solve part of that for you. Point being is if you want to start looking at how to then grow from things that you can do in your environment without installing anything, and by the way, this absolutely ties into the OT environment for those of you who don't think there's PowerShell in your OT.
You're wrong.
Yep. Free tool that is just like literally like color in between the lines to then starting to graduate, right? Maturity matrix here to more complicated professional evil. Go there. Again, I'm not selling you shit. Go there and see a whole bunch of free things and a whole bunch of tools we gave you to, again, get you going even further with going into like a full command and control and post-access capability for testing. We're going to skip a lot of this because of time. Yeah, I actually show you how to do InDestroyer 2 and elements of it.
Hey, we're here for you, good sir.
Detection, how do we do this? Let's create your own lab. So how to build a lab.
Oh.
Yeah, obviously I can't give you an entire framework on how to build your own lab. So I'm going to give you some things. First of all, of course, considerations for enterprise, all the value for it. That's obvious. But most of you are going like, yeah, this is all cool. How would I ever do this at home? So there is a huge overlap between the Internet of Things, consumer devices, and industrial control systems.
Who'd have thunk it?
Who'd have thunk it? Oh, I did when I did my RSA talk 7 years ago, showing how to do this. So there's the link. How to create your own IoT lab. The link goes through my talk at RSA where I show a whole bunch of things in detail. The point is the same concepts of starting to learn how industrial control systems create a lot of the same problems in embedded devices. You can do that with a super cheap Chinese webcam. You can do that at home. It'll cost you like 50 to 100 bucks. Go watch the talk, go find the slides, not hard to do, and I show you how to break all that down. And again, if you don't even feel comfortable that you're technical and you're like, I've never done exploitation in my life. One, IoT is so fucking simple, you will look like a VR vulnerability research rock star just by looking at it. You'll be like, really, this is all this is? This is what everybody was saying was so complicated? It is that easy. But even if that seems too far, you can find public code to do these things. Again, I demonstrate the whole thing in full detail. It's a starting point to building your own lab, to learning these principles. You want to build your own operational technology lab. Now we're getting to something more complicated. Because again, for a lot of folks, it's like I had never really understood what a programmable logic controller was today, other than I knew Stuxnet, which is why I led with that. Go to eBay, type in PLC. You can find PLCs for a few $100, a little more expensive than IoT. But you can bring your own PLC home, and you can start to experiment and learn with that particular thing, which will have its, again, the obscurity we talked about earlier, unique operating system, architecture, commands, protocols, which you will have to learn for that specific device, which is why I make this generic. But you will get to experiment with things like ladder logic, which is the actual logic of how these things control what they do in the physical world. And then again, because I showed you how easy things are with breaking them in IoT, you will then see how easy these things are with industrial systems. For example, you probably take for granted that authentication is a thing because of your experience in IT. Authentication does not exist in operations technology. And you're like, okay, well, if I don't have authentication, I probably don't have encryption either.
No, it does the thing.
Everything is in plain text.
Yep.
You can literally see everything in a real operational technology environment in the comfort of your own home with your own PLC, because that's how basic the architecture is. And you're going, why? Well, if you remember, that's why the name of this talk is, why does it run Windows XP? Oh, yeah. Because it was designed that way 25 years ago.
Authentication and encryption is overhead.
Break all the things, make friends and have fun. Maturity models, understand where you are. This goes back to people, enterprise, leadership, and all those pieces, and your own capabilities to do them.
Question. So regarding IT versus OT in a training model, so IT has Hack the Box, Go Hack Me, all these wonderful systems that you can, or wonderful platforms you could pay pesos to and, you know, get good training. But for those of us who are trying to train junior team members on an ICS red team, there's really not much out there.
Nope.
When do you think somebody's going to catch on to that and make something?
So we've been talking about it at government levels for a number of years. I don't think that person was here. So there is an Idaho National Labs 300 level class that is available. Since then, CISA has expanded to creating online other pieces of that.
Yeah, we thought they were going to do it at DEF CON, but they did that stupid escape room instead. That amazing escape room instead. Please, pardon me.
Yeah, my ICS Village, thank you. Did you play the escape room?
I couldn't get in.
Yes, we
Nobody
found
could get
ourselves
in.
completely at capacity. We were sold out literally before the event
Yeah,
even started.
nobody could get in.
Yes.
We were planning it. We were gonna have one of our junior guys there at like 5 a.m. Like.
I am really sorry that my free nonprofit resource was sold out.
Oh, I'm not hating on you for it. I'm not hating on you for it. I'm just saying like teams got to eat.
Yes, no. So that's literally why I created this slide to go for things even further. So, I mean, I've been talking about the nonprofit that Tom Van Norman and I run. Dylan Lee and Don Weber have been significant resources in helping that. We're looking for more volunteers to help take this further. That is the only free resource that I know that actually gives kinesthetic learning throughout. We're limited because we can't offer this virtually. That's a challenge for keeping that kind of range infrastructure up. We do 10 to 15 events throughout the United States a year. We've been at DEF CON for 12 years.
The Discord's great too.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're the only like free mass resource I'm aware of.
Is there anything paid out there? Because we can't even find that.
Sans.
Like. Yeah, we know, and that boy is the DoD done a wonderful job with Sans.
You all actually get a significant discount. So for those of you who tend to throw out, the Sans class cost this much, DoD actually has a group discount where it costs less, but a lot less. So, but no, Sans is the world standard, and that probably ties to where most of us look at the pricing on it. Like Sans is the thing. Stuff below that,
I don't know what happened between like DoD acquisitions and Sans this year, but like all of our Sans vouchers have dried up, and when we ask for more, the DoD says, "Yeah, we're negotiating." And spoiler alert, they're not negotiating. Something happened, like somebody pooped in the punch bowl.
So back to our resources slide here. There's my nonprofit that tries to meet all the demands. Y'all being a part of that. I just moved down to the area. I used to live here a long time ago. It was when I was MEB'd out of the Army. This was actually my first, I can't say post because I was a civilian. So I'm really glad to be back. Y'all have been phenomenal. This isn't like I'm closing out my comedy set, but it really felt good tonight. And thank you. Thanks, man.
Cheers to you, sir.
So if you can help us to make that a broader thing, we're happy to do it. From that, we have our own conference called Hack the Capitol. It's May 10th and 11th. This is our 6th year of doing it. It was an idea I came up with a number of years ago because, again, I talked about how we travel all over the United States and sometimes the world doing this kind of thing. And I was like, wait a second. I live in Washington, D.C. I feel like there are people here who really have a big impact on this. So we started Hack the Capitol. We bring members of Congress. I'm now personal friends with a number of senators and representatives through doing this event, literally just walking up to rando representatives and senators that I've been able to do this and getting them to come. What's that?
Our condolences.
Some of them that is true. I hate to say that publicly. I won't give names. It's a free conference. It is physically in McLean, Virginia. This year it's going to be based out of MITRE. It's a 2-day conference. We will be streaming everything. So for those of you who can't make it, but it's free. And it is a great opportunity to get to meet staffers and think tanks and a lot of these folks who actually, again, we're so used to looking at each other, and these are the people who are fucking everything up and making your lives harder. Not intentionally. They really do mean the best. They just don't know, and they haven't met you. That's the goal behind the conference. C2SAI is a partner, and it's really C squared, but so it goes by CSAI. That was where I was talking about, where I was a guest host. They are a free resource. They do webcasts, I don't know, weekly to monthly, across a bunch of different topics, all around. So CS stands for control systems. And then Hack the Plant is the podcast that we do, 10 episodes a year. We're in our 3rd season, tied to the ICS Village. That's me. I do the hosting. And it is just, again, as you've seen me today, we don't do deep dive nerd shit. I bring a bunch of these random elements. You want to hear about microgrids in India? I had that lady on. You, that kind of stuff. I had Joe Marshall from Talos come on and talk about big agriculture. I mean, it is just all of these different aspects, because industrial control systems is this like opaque hidden thing that people don't know about and all these different pieces. We're just constantly putting stuff out. And so in summary, bunch of things, bunch of links in this. Biggest thing I want to leave you with, wherever you are, whatever you do, continue to think about the fish tank.
Hell yeah.
So, big thank you to Bryson and Scythe for coming out and spending some time with us tonight. Thanks for everybody that's tuning in. I know we've got quite a few of y'all watching on YouTube for the Discord group. You guys should have been here. I don't know why you're not. This was a great time for y'all to come out, meet somebody new, talk with some good people. As far,
Shit to do, dude.
evidently,
Yeah.
as far as the ICS Village stuff goes, we should talk off camera.
We has ideas.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, let us know on the Twitter, YouTube, Facebooks. Pick your social media, whatever you like. We're there. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you later.